All right, it's tea time. Let's talk about my brother. It's not necessarily a juicy story. We just were never close because we grew up so differently. I'm 6 years older, so as kids, that felt massive. I grew up in the UK for my first 5 years. I experienced a lot of verbal and physical abuse from my mom. My parents were actively hating each other. They were pretty violent with each other, lots of fighting. I remember all of that and experienced all of that. And I think with my younger brother, he felt like more of a fresh start. He didn't have those memories and he was treated really differently. So he was never physically abused. There was never any screaming around him, no verbal abuse, nothing like that. So there's a therapy term that I've pretty recently discovered called triangulation. I actually saw it in the comments and did a little deep dive because I would think, and I think people in the comments have said too, that if you grow up in a traumatic household, you would kind of expect the siblings to get really close and it's them against the world and that kind of thing. But that was not the case with us at all. We were always pitted against each other. And if I was ever on the outs with my mom and being ignored and shunned and abused and all of that, my brother was seen as even more lovable. He was at like an all-time high when I was being ignored and at a low. So I remember from a really young age, me being in my room, not allowed to come out, being ignored, and my mom would take him to a toy store loudly, be like, we're going to the toy store, we're gonna have the best time, we're gonna have the best day. And then they would come back from the toy store and my mom would crinkle the bags by my door and be like, we had this great shopping day and look what we got. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have so much fun with these new toys. And it was always that dynamic. So looking at triangulation is so validating to know that that's a thing. I kind of thought that that was just my household, that otherwise it would be the siblings against the parents or the siblings against the world. But yeah, that was very much a thing in my house growing. And I obviously can't speak for him, but I would have to assume that when you are the center of your parents' world and then you have this other sibling that is like always going through it, you either become really empathetic or you totally cut off. And the latter is my experience with my little brother. So I thought maybe there was a chance that as we approached adulthood and became adults that we would get close, and that just never happened. I don't know if I've really talked about my like wedding elopement on here yet, but my fiance and I are doing a micro wedding. We are basically eloping, but we're including his parents and my closest friends. It's gonna be a really, really small group. And as a final kind of connection idea for my brother, I actually invited him to my elopement and I said, you know, we're not doing plus ones, it's just our people, and it would be really special to me if you would come. And he said he wouldn't come. Yeah, I think the plus one thing really offended him, and it felt to me like, you know, if he wanted to, he would. And if that's going to be the deciding factor, then they don't need to be there. So sorry to bum you out, but that's the sitch with the brother, and that's why I'm no contact with my entire immediate family. But chosen family over everything, and I finished my tea, so.
I told my boyfriend he was the same size as my ex. My boyfriend and I have been together for about a month and a half, and last night we were intimate for the first time. Afterwards, we were laying in bed and talking, and he asked me if he was the biggest I'd ever had. Oh, sir. I asked him if he wanted me to be completely honest, and I asked if he was going to be upset about my answer. That means no. He said no. I told him I would say you and my ex are around the same size. It feels about the same. This deeply upset him. Girl, what the fuck? First of all, sir, don't ask questions that you don't want a truthful answer to. Second of all, girl, you could have answered that without mentioning your ex. Oh, shit. He was being cold and distant, couldn't even look at me, and said maybe 5 things to me within the 2 hours I was there before I left his place. I kept apologizing, telling him I didn't mean that intimacy felt the same, but he wouldn't believe me and kept saying that I was only telling him what I thought he wanted to hear. I left around 4:30 a.m., and when I got home, I was telling him how sorry I was and that I genuinely didn't mean to upset him at all. He told me that no one has ever said something so insane to him, and he doesn't think he'll be turned on by me again. Wait, I'm sorry. This is fucking funny. Sir, you asked this question. Not you expecting her to stroke your ego and she hit you with a nice round dose of fucking reality. I woke up for work around 10 and once again apologized and told him that I loved him and told him to text me if he needed anything. He's texted me twice today and everything he said has been avoidant and cold. I don't know what to do. I've told him so many times that he took what I said the wrong way, that I'm sorry and that intimacy with him felt different than it did with my ex, but he doesn't believe me. He told me that he's fearing for our relationship after this. Am I the asshole for saying this to my boyfriend? And what do I do to get him to forgive me? Edit. A lot of people are dogging on me for telling him I love him so early on. We've known each other for a long time before we made things official, so these feelings were developing for a very long time. Listen, at first I was going to say I don't think you're the asshole at all because he asked you a question and he was not prepared for an honest answer. But on the other hand, girl, you know good and goddamn well there was a way for you to answer this question without bringing up your ex. You know, and I know you could have answered that question without saying that him and your ex are the exact same size. No, you're not the biggest I've ever had. It's not exciting, but damn, did it answer his question and it didn't throw shit else in the mix. Listen, while I do think bro is being so overly fucking extra about this situation, because bitch, if you so fucking sad and you're never going to be able to be turned on and you fear for our relationship, break up with me. Fucking break up with me, because drawing this shit out is annoying as fuck. I do think he's being extra about the situation, but I do get why he was peeved in the first place. Because he asked you a question about him. You brought up your ex. If the roles were reversed and you asked him what the tier you were on, and he brought up the fact that he thought you were really in ranking with his ex, you'd be bothered, and don't pretend that you wouldn't be. Fellas, do not ask questions that you are not ready to receive an honest and truthful answer for. Do not ask me if you are the best I've ever had and then throw a fit when I tell you no. While you thought you were putting on a performance of the lifetime just grunting and sweating, I was actually making my grocery list. You were just taking up my fucking time, so I've done my meal prepping for the week. Do not ask me if you're the biggest that I've ever had and then get upset when I say no. Now you sit in the fucking room sliding down the wall crying like you in an R&B video. Stop asking questions you do not want truthful answers to. Also, the fact that he asked her if he was the biggest that she's ever had and not the best makes me wonder, sis, did you get yours? Did you actually reach your peak, or was this man just hunching and grunting all over you and you just called it intimacy? Because I feel like any man that's thinking about if he was the biggest his partner's ever had minutes after pulling out is not a very giving partner. He probably don't even know where that one magic button is, and it's right fucking there.
This woman said she blames her mom for the fact that her brother will be in prison for 11 years. And to this day, she has not spoken to her mother since her brother's sentencing, and she doesn't plan to speak to her mother ever again. You already know what time it is. Story time. Let's go ahead and get into it. When they were growing up in West Africa, their mother was having an affair with a married politician, a powerful man. And from that affair came 2 children, her and her older brother. They grew up knowing who their father was, but they never really had a real relationship with him because the man had a whole family. And then one day, their father was unalived, and his wife started looking for all his mistresses and their children. It wasn't safe to stay, so their mother fled to a neighboring country. They had to start over with almost nothing. Her brother was smart, really smart, did well in school despite everything that they were going through. Eventually, he graduated and got picked up by an American company. It wasn't a fortune, but it was steady work. And from the moment he started earning money, he was sending it back home to take care of them. After a few years, he was able to help her come to the U.S. to finish her studies. She was so grateful. He sacrificed so much to give her that opportunity, but that's also when things really started to change. Their mother's demands started getting bigger, more money, more often. And when he tried to push back or say that he couldn't afford it, she'd guilt him, tell him that he was ungrateful, remind him that she gave birth to him, raised him, and suffered for him, that it was his responsibility to take care of her now. She'd even spread lies to their family back home, telling them that he wasn't supporting her and that he was becoming selfish and Americanized. Then he lost that job. It was a difficult time in his life. He was stressed, trying to find work, trying to keep his head above water. He told his mother he wasn't working anymore and couldn't send money like he used to, but she didn't care. She still expected the money every month without fail. And here's the thing that made it worse. Their mother was married to another man. A man who didn't work, didn't contribute, just sat around while she demanded money from her son. She never asked her husband for anything. It was all on her son. Eventually, her brother found another job. This one seemed like his big break, a significant pay increase, but it required him to split his time between the US and the UAE. He took it because he needed it, because the pressure from their mother wasn't letting up. It was only getting worse. The more he made, the more she demanded. New house, new car, expensive things, trips, etc. And every time he tried to set boundaries or say no, she would explode. Stop talking to him for months at a time, make him feel like he was a bad son, manipulate him until he gave in. Then things eventually caught up with him. Turns out the job wasn't legitimate. He'd been involved in financial crimes, wire fraud, embezzlement, moving money that wasn't his. He was arrested, charged, and extradited back to the US, where he was sentenced and got 11 years in federal prison. During the course of the investigation, the truth came out, and it devastated her. They traced where the money went, and they found that roughly 60% of the mismanaged funds, the money that he'd stolen, the money that landed him in prison, went directly to funding his mother's lifestyle. Not his own lifestyle, not investment or cars or houses for himself. His mother's demands, her house, her car, her bills, her trips, her expectations. When she found out, she was furious. She tried to talk to her mother, tried to get her to see the role that she played in all of this, but their mother refused to take any accountability, said it wasn't her fault, that he was a grown man who made his own choices, that she didn't force him to do anything. And then, to make it worse, their mother turned around and lied to everyone back home, told the family that her son stole all that money and didn't give her a dime, that he abandoned her, that she was a victim in all of this. That was 5 years ago. Her brother is still in prison, and she hasn't spoken to their mother since his sentencing. She refuses to, because to this day, their mother won't admit what she did, won't acknowledge the pressure she put on him, won't own the fact that her greed and manipulation pushed him to his breaking point. Some people are telling her that she needs to forgive her mother, that holding on to this anger is only hurting her, that her brother is still responsible for his own actions and no one forced him to commit those crimes, that plenty of people have demanding parents and don't turn to fraud. Others are saying that her mother is absolutely to blame, that she manipulated and guilt-tripped her son to the point where he felt like he had no choice, that she exploited cultural expectations about taking care of your parents and turned it into financial abuse, that 60% of the stolen money going to her is proof enough. She loves her brother, but in some ways she's torn. She knows that he was trying to be a good son, but she also knows that he made terrible choices. However, she can't forgive their mother for creating the environment that pushed him there, for demanding so much that he felt like he had to break the law just to keep her happy. And then after everything, for lying and then playing victim. Her brother still has 6 years to serve, and when he gets out, she doesn't know what kind of life he'll be able to rebuild, but she knows one thing for sure. Her mother won't be a part of hers.
My best friend and my boyfriend had a thing going on.
I watched like 2-part stories, so you don't have to. That's Iman when she's letting us know that her best friend slept with her ex-boyfriend. So the story takes place during their senior year of high school, and Imani and her friend, who she named Pam for the story, didn't know what they wanted to do for college. So Pam lets her know that she was actually going to go to Job Corps instead, but she was going to go to the Job Corps in Virginia. And so Imani's like, oh my God, tell me more about that. So she lets her know. Imani does a little bit of research and ends up realizing this is a great option for her as well. She couldn't apply for the one that her friend Pam was already going to because they were taking too long to respond to her. She ended up going to another one in Pennsylvania. And while Imani's at her location, she ends up meeting her soon-to-be ex-boyfriend. Christmas comes around, Pam, the boyfriend, and Imani all decide to go back to Imani and Pam's hometown in order to celebrate the holidays, and they actually all end up getting a hotel in order to bring in the New Year's. At some point of the trip, either during or right after, Pam actually ended up finding out that she's pregnant, and she decided not to go back to her Job Corps location and stayed in their hometown, while Imani and her boyfriend went back to their Job Corps location. Now, her boyfriend ended up graduating a few months before she did, but then when she graduated, they ended up both moving back to her hometown, and her boyfriend at the time started living together. Now, through this entire time, Pam and Imani are still staying friends. Imani was actually going to be the godmother to Pam's kid, and so they were really close. She would come over to the house all the time, and Imani's boyfriend at the time was a drug dealer, essentially. He was supplying people not only with, like, gardening stuff for, like, you know, the flower, like Imani said, but other harder substances as well. Now, Imani and Pam only gardened. They only rolled it up, right? And he would sell it to them all the time. Now, after some time, Pam and the boyfriend ended up exchanging numbers. At the time, Imani's thinking this is so that he can continue supplying her with, you know, the stuff to roll up with. So one day, Pam comes over and Imani goes to the bathroom. Her boyfriend goes upstairs to grab something. There were substances all over the table, right? So apparently, Imani comes back out of the bathroom and her boyfriend's going off. And he's like, Pam stole my stuff. Pam stole my stuff. And Imani's like, what are you talking about? First of all, we don't even do that stuff since we only roll things up. So I don't understand why you would think she would take that. But he's standing 10 to 1. He's like, no, she took my stuff. I know where I left it. It was right here. So because of how much he was convinced that Pam took his stuff, Imani ended up hitting up Pam and being like, hey girl, like, da-da-da. Immediately, Pam's like, what do I look like? I didn't take it, da-da-da-da. And so again, because of their long-standing relationship, Imani believed Pam. Pam was like, I'll come over there right now. Imani ends up telling us that she never ended up coming that day. Pam didn't come over for another 2 days. The boyfriend was actually out selling at the time, and so her and Imani ended up just chopping it up. Now, Imani kind of let it go because she was just like, well, it's already gone. What can we do? Like, I'm not about to keep talking about it, right? Pam leaves, and the boyfriend comes back home, and he's like, oh, so my stuff is just magically back in its place? And Imani's like, what? There's no way. So she, at that point, is now convinced that Pam obviously had something to do with it. So she calls Pam back, and she's like, hey, I'm not trying to accuse you, but it's kind of weird that, you know, this stuff just randomly popped up right after you showed up. The boyfriend tells Imani, I don't like your friend. I'm looking at her sideways now. Don't bring her around, this type of stuff. Imani, on the other hand, is like, that's my friend. I'm going to stick beside her. I don't really care about what he's talking about. Something to keep in mind is that Pam is pregnant, right? Now, the man that Pam is having a child with wants nothing to do with the situation. So she actually ends up getting with another man who is, in fact, Imani's neighbor. Has been her neighbor for many years. Imani's brother actually took her neighbor's sister to proms, and she told us that he is Mexican. And so now Pam is dating the Mexican man. Imani told her, like, hey, this is a really good guy. He's genuine. What if he falls in love? Like, he clearly wants to take care of you and the baby. Like, please don't play him. So now Pam's always across the street at the neighbor's house, too. So a week prior to this incident happening, Pam and Imani actually got into it about something. She said it was kind of irrelevant, and they get into stuff like that all the time. It wasn't anything serious, but they weren't really speaking much. So a week after that, Imani and her boyfriend ended up getting into it, and it actually turned out to be a little physical. And so Imani tells us that her and her boyfriend are yelling at each other. He says something along the lines of, that's why Pam's on my body. And immediately Imani's like, there's no way. Why are you even trying to lie? He's like, I can prove it. He pulls out the Snapchat. And she's like, what? She looks at her name. She's like, that's definitely my best friend's tag. So she's trying to read the conversation. The boyfriend must have realized what he was doing because he tries to take the phone back. But at this point, she's already seen enough. She needs to read the whole conversation. So she goes, she snatches the phone out and she starts reading it. She's heartbroken. All the emojis, all the conversations, all the flirting, it's all just like apparent that this has been happening for a while now. And so she said she didn't even care about the boyfriend betraying her. It broke her heart how her best friend played her, how she lied to her, how she knew how much she loved this guy and she didn't care and still pursued him anyway. She never forgave her best friend for that. She never spoke to her again. She never spoke to her boyfriend again. And she kind of just moved on with her life. She said that was at a much younger age. She learned a lot from it, and a lot of the lessons that her mom taught her about friendship and how to go about certain dynamics all became very clear to her. You guys tagged me in this a bunch, so I just make sure I got it out to you guys. I appreciate you guys as always. Bye.
I had a terrible friendship breakup about 8 years ago, and I want to tell you why it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, at the time that this happened, I felt completely gutted. I felt like the other part of my heart was falling out of my chest. I felt like someone that I devoted so many years of my life to was just completely gone from it in a flash. I've said time and time again that I think friendship breakups are so much harder than romantic breakups. I don't know if it's because you give a different part of yourself to them, or just how you meet them, or how you're so vulnerable with them, like right off the bat. It just feels so much more difficult to me. I think the other thing about friends versus romantic partners is that when we're meeting someone to be a friend, we think it's going to be long term. We're like, this is great. We get along so well. They're in this for the long haul. Like, we can go through all these life stages together. But then when you go to date somebody, you realize this either works or it doesn't work. I'm not going to stay with them a long time if it's not going to work out or we don't have the same goals in mind. Now, I don't regret this friendship at all. We were friends for a long time for a good reason. I mean, we had a lot of great memories together. I learned a lot about myself during this time, and I feel like it was important to have this friendship during that stage in my life. But who I was then is very different to who I am now. I was a complete people pleaser. I was the shadow friend, as I called it. So basically, I would always be the person behind the other person. So I would let everybody else shine. I would do whatever they needed as a friend, because I learned to be a friend by supporting someone at the expense of my own health and wellness. So if they needed me at 3 a.m. to do something for them, I dropped everything and would do it for them. And not saying there's not a time and place for that, but I would do it all the time at my own
own expense when usually it wouldn't get reciprocated back to me. And I didn't see that until years later. Now, I think there's this narrative when it comes to friendship breakups or breakups in general that I'm the good person and they're bad, they're toxic, they did all these horrible things to me. And I don't think that's the case. I think sometimes maturity is realizing that sometimes friendships just end and it needs to end for a reason. I don't think I would have been the person today if it weren't for that friendship, but I also don't think I would be the person I am today if I were still in that friendship. Back in college, when I was friends with this person, I realized I couldn't picture any part of my life without her. You know, I pictured us growing old together. We would always talk about raising our families together. Our kids would be best friends. And then looking back, I realized every choice I made during that time, I was looking for her validation. If I was succeeding or found some new independence in some new area of my life, I felt some resentment from her, like I was holding her back and moving along without her. I got a little taste of this when I studied abroad my sophomore year of college. At first it was excitement and happiness for me, but as it got closer and closer to the trip, realizing it was actually happening, all I kept hearing was I was abandoning her. I was leaving her. How could I do this to her at such a vital time in her life? And then when I went, our friend group was kind of falling apart. Certain things were happening and I got blamed because I left. Soon after, that was our first fallout, and that should have been the first indicator that this was not a long-term friendship. Again, I'm not sharing this to do like a me versus them kind of thing because like I said, I feel like our friendship was supposed to end at a certain point so we could both succeed on our own and be our own people. However, I'm sharing this for people that might be going through something similar. Friendship breakups happen all the time, and I think it's so easy for us to blame ourselves or blame the other person without saying like, no, this is a start of a new chapter and it's supposed to happen this way. So I know that was kind of a long rant, but it's just been heavy on my heart for a while just to talk about it. I see all these things about friendship breakups, and I think we're so programmed to think it's good versus evil. But it's like that famous quote that's like, friends are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So I think it's really good to identify that and to not put blame on the other person or yourself automatically and just be like, you know what? She was there for me during this time. I was there for her. And now in order for us to grow and be our best selves, we kind of have to split off. So I don't know if this serves any purpose to anybody here, but I hope it helps.
Well, good morning. Happy Monday. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I woke up at like 6:30 probably, and I don't get up until like 7:45, 8. I obviously was like, oh, I'm going back to sleep. So I rolled over. I swear my alarm went off like 5 minutes later. I have tomorrow off for like my annual doctor's appointment, and I just know they're gonna do blood work and stuff. And fun fact about me, my biggest fear is needles and blood and everything to do with that. I always say if I could handle blood and needles, I definitely would have went into some type of nursing because it interests me so much, but I physically cannot handle. I just can't. I pass out when I get my blood drawn. One thing that fucking annoys me when people say it, I have tattoos obviously, and when I'm getting blood drawn or something, I always let them know like, hey, just letting you know, like I do normally pass out. Don't need to freak out or anything. I just pass out, but I come back. I always be like, oh, why are you scared of needles? Like you have all those tattoos. It's not the same thing. Pisses me off. But today, they said last week that today was supposed to start our time of being really busy for like Q4 or whatever. I really hope that was a lie. And it's like super busy, and I'm sitting here like back to back calls for like hours. Like it's exhausting. Here they'll say, oh, take your break. Like if you need time off the phone, like make sure you take 5 minutes or so. And then I do that, and there's calls in the queue. Where are you? Why aren't you taking calls? And it's like, okay, well, I just took 15 calls back to back. Like, can I just go piss? Also, I'll make this short, sweet, and to the point. So I don't think I've posted the video yet. I'm so behind on editing my videos. It's not even funny. I had like a meeting with this girl that I work with sometime last week. She's above me, but like she's not. I guess like a team lead maybe. She messaged me and was like, hey, can you help me with this? Like you're on inbound and you've been on inbound, and I was hoping I could get like some of your feedback that they're trying to make for like all of our scripts and everything, just to make it easier and have them like all in one place. They want to put like everything in a OneNote or something. I think it's a great idea, but my only frustration is like she was asking for my advice in the beginning, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And now she basically wants me to do all of it. And she also wants me to job shadow. And I'm like, in the nicest way possible, that sounds like you don't want to do your job. I don't know what to say. Say good morning. Say good morning. Say good morning, good morning. I feel like I've yapped enough this morning. I just needed to get all of that off my chest. I love you. I hope you have a great Monday. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Getting woken up to being cussed the fuck out when you are hungover has got to be absolute top 5 worst ways to wake up when you are hungover. Explains why I've got a fucking water boy right now. Let me tell you about what happened, okay? So, last night, friend's birthday, got a little bonkered off the yoinkies. Your girl got a little shiplammied, which, okay, fine. Well, then I wake up this morning and I see that I have DMs from people calling me a fucking sellout, right? Like, you're a fucking sellout, you're a fucking sellout. And I'm like, what the fuck? Hold on. And I'm like, what? And I'm reading it. And it's not just one, it's like multiple DMs, people calling me a fucking sellout, right? So I sit up in bed and I'm like, what the fuck what are people talking about? What do you mean I'm a sellout? What happened? What is happening, you know? And so then I'm reading through and somebody's like, we have done nothing as your like supporters to like help you when you were homeless and prop you up. You've been like very upfront and honest about your situation. And now you're gonna sell out and pretend that you have a car to sell car insurance. This is so fucked up and so scammy. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I responded, I was like, what are you talking about? And this woman sends me like a screenshot, and I'll post it here in a sec. There's a car insurance company that took my video from like months ago and did an AI voiceover of me pushing a car insurance. Like, oh, like now that I have a car, I'm so grateful that like I use blah, 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 insurance to get insurance on this car. And it's the video back when I was sitting in my sister's car telling you guys that I'm fucking homeless. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like writing back, I'm like, that's literally an AI. Somebody's like stealing my face, my video. And I was like, I just want you guys to know, I don't have a car. This is like very well known. I would not push car insurance. It doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't have a fucking car. Let me show you guys the picture. Hang on. Like, this is the picture I get sent. And I've covered up the car insurance company because like, fuck them. You stole my fucking video, stole my face, and then did an AI of my voice pushing car insurance. And now I've got people fucking DMing me being like, you fucking sellout. If you see me pushing, you know, like shit for a hangover or like vibrators, that's me. That shit I believe in. Car insurance? That makes it, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, but I just want you guys to know that's my face. That's an old video. I'm not pushing car insurance. Holy shit, AI is so fucking scary.
Story time about how a former student came to my classroom and asked me on a date.
So this situation has caused a frenzy on social media, so I'm going to give you the breakdown and then you let me know what you think in the comments down below. Her TikTok name is Kiki Farrow, so we're going to call her Kiki. So Kiki got up here and did a story time talking about how a 19-year-old former student of hers asked her out on a date a few years ago. She was a high school math teacher who was in her 3rd or 4th year of teaching AP statistics, and she went on to say that she always made it a point to keep like a personal distance between her and her students. She said that she used to say something like there was like an imaginary hula hoop around her, and that was like the imaginary line that her students weren't able to cross. She said that she did this because she knows that she looks young and she never wanted them to get confused and think that she was their friend. School came back from winter break in January of 2020, and she went on to say that at that point she started to receive constant phone calls on her work phone. But she says that she never answered them because she was always too busy teaching. That is when she eventually started receiving emails from this former student. The student was asking if he could come and see her. Now, she did respond to the email, and she went on to ask him if there was anything that he needed specifically, and she asked if it could just be handled through email, but he claimed that he needed to see her in person. She eventually agrees. She tells him to come to the school on a certain day, and she went on to say that she assumed that maybe he just needed like a letter of recommendation for college or something like that because he had graduated the year before. She said that she still didn't really understand why it couldn't be handled through email, but she said that she decided it was probably okay for him to meet her at the school since it was like a neutral, safe place. She said that he did go on to ask her if she could meet him outside of the school, but she told him that she was only comfortable with him meeting her at the school. So the day for them to meet arrives. She goes down to the office to get him, and once she gets to the office, she realizes that he's wearing a suit, and she said that was the first red flag. She said once he saw her, he approached her and gave her these Clemson Tiger Paw cookies that he had bought for her, and she went on to say that she didn't eat them because she never eats anything that her students give her because you never really know. She said that she thought it was a kind gesture, but she also sort of thought that it was the second red flag. Like, you're showing up in a suit and you're gifting me cookies. But either way, she gets him from the office, takes him back up to her classroom. She sits at her desk and she has him sit in the desk in front of hers. She said that she left her classroom door open, his back was to the classroom door, and she was facing the classroom door. And she said that he went on to ask her if they could close the door, and she was like, no, teachers and students aren't even supposed to be alone one-on-one in the classrooms, but especially not with the door closed. It was at that point that he started up some small talk. He was asking how she was doing and so on and so forth, and then she proceeded to give us a little backstory on this student. He said the year prior when he graduated, he gave her a 3-paged typed out letter telling her what an amazing teacher he thought she was and blah, 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 blah. He said that she found it a little weird, but not too much because he also gave one to a male teacher at the school as well. Now, when he came up to meet her at the school and he was wearing the suit, she did end up telling another teacher like, hey, if this meeting between me and this former student goes on a little too long, can you come into the classroom and interrupt it and just come up with some reason as to why I have to leave because I'm already a little uncomfortable with the whole entire thing. Either way, back to them in the classroom. After the little bit of small talk, he just jumped right into asking her if she was interested in going on a date with him. She responded by telling him no, and then at that point, he essentially, in her words, started to kind of begged her to give him a chance. She went on to tell him that she was still a teacher, and despite the fact that he may have graduated the year prior, in her eyes, he was still a child. He went on to say that he wasn't really upset, but was more so just trying to convince her to give him a chance. And after she rejected him, he went on to ask if he could further explain his feelings for her. Now, this is the point where people on the internet who saw her story time claim that they thought stuff started to get a little weird. He asked if he can further explain his feelings for her, and she went on to say that she wanted to tell him no. Then she backtracked a little bit and was like, actually, no, I do think I told him no. She essentially said that he was just so persistent that it seemed as though he obviously wasn't going to leave, so I'm assuming that at some point she did eventually agree to let him further explain. Or maybe he just jumped right into it. But either way, he told her that he thinks about her every single time he's driving to his classes. He thinks of her when he's cooking his eggs in the morning. Then he went on to ask her if she ever thinks about him. Obviously, she's like, no, I don't ever think about you. You're just another one of my former students. She said that she did eventually end up asking him if she ever did anything that convinced him that their relationship could go past teacher and student, because if she ever did anything that convinced him of that, she wanted to know what it was so she wouldn't do it again in the future. And that's when he went on to tell her an exact date. He said that on this specific date, she handed him back a test from AP Math that he had failed, and then she looked at him and told him that she knew he could do better than that. She said that he said that was the very moment that he fell in love with her. He said that she was just caught off guard and she wanted to clarify, so she ended up asking him, like, me simply doing my job and letting you know that I know you can do better just based off of the knowledge that I know you have regarding the subject is what made you fall in love with me, and he went on to say yes. She said she wasn't even really sure how to respond to that, and then she ended up asking him if he ever talked to anybody about his feelings towards her, and he went on to say that he's never told anyone about his feelings, and he would appreciate if she didn't tell anyone about it either. She then went on to tell him that if he wasn't comfortable enough to tell anybody about his feelings towards her, nor about his plans to come up to the school and ask her on a date, then maybe that should have been a sign that what he was planning to do was at least a little bit inappropriate. She went on to tell him that he should be dating people his own age and not somebody who was a former teacher of his, and she said it seemed as though he just really wasn't understanding where she was coming from. Eventually, that teacher at the beginning who she had asked to come in and interrupt things if it went on too long, she ends up coming in there, interrupting, and making up some story about them having to go to a meeting in an attempt to get him to leave. He said it was in that moment that he looked at her and told her that she was handling the situation very well, and she was like, I'm not even really sure how he was expecting me to handle the situation. I was just trying to keep my boundaries and remain professional. She went on to say that she didn't want to crush his feelings, but she needed him to understand that they did not have a relationship like that, and they never would. She wanted him to understand that what he was doing was not appropriate. Like we said earlier, there was that part where people started to feel a little uncomfortable with her responses, but this is the moment where people really said they started to side-eye her, and some people even went on to make accusations against her for potentially being inappropriate. I'm not here to make any accusations, I'm just here to do the breakdown. She went on to say that he still messages her every year for her birthday. He's been doing this since 2020. She said as soon as the clock hits midnight, he sends her a video of him singing happy birthday. To her personal email, might I add. He sends this video to her personal email. She went on to say that before the situation, she would give kids who were graduating her personal email just in case they did need a letter of recommendation or something like that. But she went on to say that she will not be doing that moving forward. Then she went on to say that she has learned her lesson and she is just now, in 2025, going to block him. And that's what set people off. That's what made people start throwing around accusations. Because they were like, why didn't you block him back when he was 19? Why didn't you block him in 2020? I think in one of her response videos, she went on to say that she just never really thought about it. But once she was telling the story time, she really started to register how weird it was that he was sending her those birthday messages. And so she finally decided that she needed to block him. I don't know, you guys. That's the breakdown. Love you. Bye.
Escalating to keep totaled car.
So it's actually not us that are not allowing for you to retain the vehicle. It's the bank that owns the car that's saying that you can't keep it in this total loss scenario. And that's a really good question, and I'd be happy to kind of go over the thought process behind it for them. So total loss vehicles that are salvaged, which is the process that they go through when an insurance company deems it totaled and then the owner fixes it and re-registers it with the state, basically repairing it, they lose significant value because they've been in a major impact. So hypothetically, let's say your car's worth $25,000 today. Salvaged, it may be worth around $15,000, right? So let's say you salvage the car and in 6 months you get into an accident and it's totaled again. Now the car's worth $15,000 and the bank has just lost $10,000 worth of funds for the vehicle. So it's a return on investment situation for them. It makes it unlikely that they'll recover the full balance of your loan, especially when you have gap insurance like in your situation. So they don't want to take the chance and therefore are requesting that the vehicle be totaled out completely. So they're actually listed on your policy as an interested party because they own the vehicle, we have to consult with them when the car is totaled, because we owe them for the vehicle's value if the car is not paid off, and we need to get the title from them in order for us to be able to retain the car and move it through our process. So that's why they're involved in the process. So there's actually a difference in the payout for a completely totaled car versus what we call an owner retain. So there's the full value, you'd get what the car's actually worth, which is going to include the cash value, your DMV registration fees, all of that, right? For an owner retain, it's minus the salvage portion. So the insurance company, what we do is we take the vehicle, we sell it off at auction for parts, and when it gets sold off, though, that money gets transferred over to the legal owner, right? So we include that up front in your settlement, so you get those funds right away. We recover it on the back end. If you keep the car, we cannot sell it for those parts, so that gets removed from your settlement. So in your case, that removes about $8,000, right? So they're losing that. And then if the car gets into an accident later down the road, they're losing more money because you wouldn't then get the full value of the car at that point either.
Part 2. Escalating to keep totaled car.
I understand. And that's why they're saying the only way you'd be able to keep the cars in under retain is to pay off the difference. So the salvage value for you is a little over $8,000. I know. I understand. It's a lot to ask of anybody at any point. That's a lot of money. And that's why I'm saying it doesn't look like there's any sort of avenue here where you'd be able to keep your car. The only thing I can do in this situation, being that you're insured, is I can offer you an additional 5 days of rental beyond what we would normally offer, just because I know that you would prefer to keep the car and you're going to have to look for a new one. So I can try to help you there by giving you an extra couple of days of rental so you have a vehicle for that time, but unfortunately I can't force them to allow you to keep the car since they are the legal owner. I understand. I mean, you're always welcome to talk to them and see if you can negotiate that with them. They're the ones that have the ultimate say. If they tell us that you're okay to keep the car, we're happy to do that for you and sign that paperwork over. Absent of that, though, we will have to file it as a complete total loss. Okay, so I'll ask the handling adjuster to hold the vehicle's total loss paperwork for 3 days. That'll give you some time to talk to the bank. If you guys come to an agreement, have the bank call us or email us. And then if not, if we don't hear anything from you or the bank, then we'll go ahead and move forward with the paperwork and pick up the car. Okay. Thank you for your time. Have a good day. Bye-bye. The whole time I'm having this phone call, I can hear her in the background licking herself. I don't know if you can. You hear her? Now she's mad because I'm talking about her, so she just left. But yeah, ultimately when it comes to a total loss, the bank is interested in getting paid for it, and she has gap insurance, which means they're eating, and she has gap insurance through her loan, so they're already eating the balance of what's the difference between the cash value and what she's getting. So they don't want to eat anything additional by allowing for an owner retain and the car gets totaled in 6 months, and now they've lost even more, right? So that's why they're saying if you want to retain it, you can, but you have to pay us that salvage value, the $8,000 difference. So we're getting the full total loss value now, and then if it gets totaled later, the rest of it, basically.
So once upon a time, a long time ago, my mom tried to steal my student loan money. What happened was I went away to college, couldn't wait. Get there and there's like all these banks waiting to like sign you up. So I had the student loan money, just me, no co-signers. Mom wasn't a co-signer, no responsibility to it, just me. Go to this table, setting up for a bank account in that city. And then my mom all of a sudden is hell-bent on her also needing to be on that bank account. And I'm like, no, I'm 18. No, I don't want you on the account. And she's like, but if you die, nobody's going to get that money. You can't do that. Like, it'll just sit there. If you die, somebody should get that money. And I'm like, that doesn't... She was having a behavior. just because I was saying no. And she's like, but if you die. And so the woman was like, not wanting to deal with either one of us. She's like, tell you what, I'll put you both on there. She looks at me. If you want to change it later, you can change it later. Puts us both on there. I knew it was a horrible idea. Not too long into school, I noticed that the money was going away and I wasn't spending it. And so it was much harder then. Like everything wasn't online. There wasn't online then. So it was harder to check things then, but I did check it. Lo and behold, my mom was slowly taking my student loan money. So I didn't talk to her about it. What I did was I went to the bank and I took out all the money. I walked my happy ass to another bank and I put it in another bank. And I didn't say anything about it. Not too many days later, I get a phone call from my mother. And she's like, what did you do? And I was like, what are you talking about? She's, you know what I'm talking about. What did you do? And I'm like, it's not yours. And she goes, I'm just as much as entitled to that money as you are. And I'm like, in what world are you entitled to my student loan money? And she's like, I raised you. And I'm like, barely. Yeah. So no, she was not put on the second one. No. And she never gave me back the money that she took. Of course not. She was very entitled to it, very angry that I changed banks. I wasn't. I was like glad that I figured it out right away and changed it. And this is a woman who, before I was able to work, I had to save my lunch money to buy tampons. And she's trying to say that she's entitled to my student loan money. I don't think so. Thanks for watching. Isn't my hat the cutest? I had it on because I was tucking in the chickens and I was like, I'll just leave it on because I'm having a crappy hair day. Anyway, my friend made it and I just love it. And it totally freaks out the cats. They don't love it.
It must be nice when a serial killer does your entire job for you. It was May 2023 when Austin PD showed up on Sonia Houston's doorstep claiming that a serial killer had recently confessed to the death of her mother. Funny thing though, Austin PD had originally told Gloria's daughters back in 2019 when she died that she had died of natural causes. But now they were telling her that Raul Meza Jr. had confessed to the strangulation and rape of their mother, and that when they had found Gloria's body at home, she was in her bed, nothing on, waist down, and she had 2 shirts pulled up over her head, which led them to do a rape kit. And on May 1st, 2020, they got a DNA match to Raul Meza Jr. in Coded. But no, they did not arrest Raul, even though he had already previously been convicted for the rape and murder of a 7-year-old girl in 1982 named Kendra Page. No, they did nothing, giving him the opportunity to kill again until he confessed in May of 2023 to his crime. After dumping this information on Sonia, police looked at her and said, do you have any questions? Here's my card. We're going to press. Within the hour of dumping all of this information on Sonia, they were in a press conference where they braggadociously said they had caught serial killer Raul Meza Jr. As if they had done any police work to bring him in. Because don't let the Austin PD fool you, the only reason he was in custody was because he called 311, got Detective Patrick Reed on the phone, and said, my name is Raul Meza Jr. I believe you're looking for me. Surprisingly, I'm sure to Raul, as well as the public of Austin, they weren't really looking for him. They did have a warrant to arrest him out, but they were in no rush to find him because it was for the unauthorized use of a vehicle of his roommate's car. And this is wild because Jesse Fraga, who is 80 years old, Raul's roommate, had been discovered in his own home, raped and murdered on May 20th, after his niece had called in for a welfare check because she hadn't heard from her uncle in a few days. His niece also told police that he had asked his roommate Raul Meza Jr. to move out of his house on May 12th, 2023. Oddly enough, that was the last day that Jesse Fraga was seen alive. Just a couple weeks later, on May 24th, 2023, Raul would call to confess to both of these murders and also to a double homicide in San Antonio, but no one has since really looked into that from everything I can find. So hopefully he comes more clean about that one. Anyways, according to the press release, they didn't have any homicide arrest warrants for Raul Meza Jr. until 2 days later after he called May 26, 2023. By then, they had the Lone Star Task Force available that deals with the worst of the worst, according to the press conference. And guys, as they said multiple times in this press conference, they gave up their Memorial Day weekend so that they could go arrest this guy, after he called in. When they arrested Raul, he had quite the kit on him. Zip ties, rope, duct tape, a pew-pew. As a
task force said they were glad they could slow this down before bringing him into justice. Could have really slowed him down in 2020 with that DNA match in CODIS to a literal rape, but I digress. Now, in that 311 call, Raul said that Gloria's murder had actually been a murder for hire, and he'd been hired by one of her nephews and was supposed to receive 25% of the inheritance. Now, Gloria didn't have any nephews, but this doesn't necessarily mean he was lying. During this call, Raul would also mention something that only a select few of Gloria's family members knew. She was cremated. How would the killer know that information, especially since he couldn't even remember Gloria's name? When he confessed to her murder, he said he had killed some lady on Sarah Drive. Also interesting, if you've been here with me since part 1, that blank that they had found in the kitchen, yeah, it was logged into evidence, but it was never taken with police. Therefore, it was never tested. So could there have been someone else's DNA in that? We'll probably never know. And as we know, they had missed the notebook that was opened with the killer's literal name on it. So what else did they miss in this home? And unfortunately, Gloria's home was sold pretty soon after she was murdered. But for a few of these reasons, Gloria's case has remained open, well, until last month. Detective Reed informed Gloria's daughter, Christina, over text that her mother's case was closed. Now, if you're like me, you may be wondering, Danny, where the fuck is the lawsuit? I am so glad you asked. APD and other police forces have something called broad immunity. So no lawyer will touch this case. It protects the state and their officials from any liability in any civil lawsuit, unless their conduct violates clearly established constitutional rights. Basically, this is shielding them from any accountability or misconduct in this case. And just yesterday, Christina found out from the literal media that they've not only closed her mother's case, oh no, they've stopped any investigation into Raul Meza Jr. Now, to be fair to them, he did accept a plea deal of 2 life sentences, so he won't be getting out. However, at the time of his capture, Detective Katie Koner said that she was scanning through cold cases way back from even before the 1990s that may be connected to Raul Meza Jr., and she believed at the time that 8 to 10 of those he was responsible for, and she said probably more. And as far as the public knew, they've been looking into this diligently. And I'm not even mentioning the May 2022 incident where someone called into 911 because they saw a man wandering the road who looked like he had been in a fight. Yeah, that man was Raul Meza Jr., who told police at the time he had offered a young woman a ride. But it looks like police are never going to find answers to any of these questions, but we'll get into all of this in the next part.
Am I the asshole for not giving up the bathroom to a Crohn's emergency resulting in their accident? This happened 30 minutes ago. I'm on a job with a porta potty. My stomach has been a mess the last few days, and I'm not sure if I'm getting sick or what. I'll leave it at that. I feel a bowel movement is coming on quickly and hustle into the single-use portable bathroom. Before sitting down, I grab a ball of toilet paper, a couple pumps of Purell, and wipe off the seat. As I'm doing this, I heard a guy hollering for me to wipe fast and exit. Him hearing the sound of the toilet paper roll just being pulled. I responded, I just walked in and it will be a few minutes. He says, nope, I have to get out right now. He's having an emergency, and I kid you not, he slides a business card through the crack of the closed door that says something like, quote, this person has Crohn's disease and is prone to sudden bathroom emergencies. Please allow them the courtesy of cutting any bathroom lines. I have never seen anything like that before. Me either. But no problem. Through the door I said, I'm having stomach issues as well, but I'll finish as quickly as I can to help you out. He yells back, nope, I'm going to shit my pants. Open the damn door. See, that's where you would have me fucked up, because I'm having an emergency too, and you ain't about to, because you got Crohn's disease, and I never even heard of this. I don't know if it's true or not, but just because you might shit yourself don't mean that I now have to shit myself to acquiesce to you. It don't work like that, partner. There was definitely a less rude way to ask, but it didn't matter as I was also having a last-minute need of a bathroom. So I finished up and exited within 3 or 4 minutes. When I got out, I saw him getting in his van. I said, hey man, it's all yours. And he tells me, fuck off. Your selfishness caused me to shit my pants, and now I'm going home. Damn. Speechless, I just said, I'm sorry. I honestly just had to go badly. His last reply was, it does not matter. His doctor gave him this card because he has an actual disease that gives him less than 30 seconds, and people with IBS or Crohn's always must be given priority. I've never heard of this. I got to look this up after I read this. Was I the asshole here? I always thought whoever got in first used the bathroom. I moved it along once I knew he needed it, but I too had to use the bathroom quickly or I'd have exited for him, despite him demanding orders versus asking politely. I think your heart was in the right place, my brother. You know what I mean? He came at you like an asshole, and I think you were very polite. You was like, yo, I really got to go bad. I don't know what this whole Crohn's disease thing is and this whole doctor. And the fact that he slid the shit into the bathroom, the little card or whatever, like, first off, you're already violating. Yeah. Well, that was the second violation. The first violation was telling me I need to get my ass out the damn bathroom because you got to take a shit and you might shit on yourself. The second violation was sliding that card under the door. Like, what the hell is going on in your mind, bruh? I get that it was only one porta potty and that was the only one that he had to use, but he could have came across in a way more polite manner. Not saying that it would have worked. I don't know if there's a law on this kind of thing or anything like that. I can't imagine that it would be, but I don't think you're the asshole at all.
My thing is, Nene, girl, you done went on down there to them people fucking courthouse and got that holy matrimony with that lady husband. Girl, you ain't even given 90 days, girl. You just went and married him immediately, girl. That's my man. That's my man. And you know what, Tim? I ain't mad at you. Get that money because you know what? If she gonna be a damn fool, get it, baby. I ain't even mad at you at this motherfucking point. But what's crazy to me is, girl, you was mad on that Kira about her man down there with her, right? You was mad, so you gonna run and go marry Brene. Okay. And then why y'all was so in the rush? Why nobody family? Wasn't nobody there? Y'all only had one witness. And then what you mean y'all went down to the David Buster's, the local David Buster's at that for the honeymoon? Y'all ain't got no out of town tripping, y'all. You know, she ain't over there putting no lingerie on. For real. Like, y'all didn't even want to go to Las Vegas and do it at the little 1-2 there? Or near my girl, because she just went and got the car or whatever that Akira said she wanted. And this girl, it's scaring me. Hand that right to cradle like, girl, you got the husband. What more do you want? Damn, my personality and all that. And girl, why I see somebody on here talking about Akira? I mean, not Akira. The sister was really over there sleeping with Big Hips. Now, girl, I just thought it was a lie. So you know I keyed all the motherfucking time. But you mean to tell me that Corinthian, huh? Is it Korean or Korean? It's one of the two. You mean to tell me, girl, she was really over there hopping on Tim? It was really some Looney Tunes stuff going on. She hopping and stuff. And Nene, you still want him? He messed with your sister allegedly. And girl, then you know that mama be over there with that fake praying in that Bible and all. Oh, girl, it gets me, girl. You know what? I know that's right, Timmy. You better get everything that she got. Give her everything she got for a pork chop. You better eat her up and get everything back because, Nene, I hope you know you can't build on another woman's tears, honey bun. At all.
No, I don't. I'm not comfortable completing this write-up without a bigger conversation. Okay. Well, the reason being is that if he is going in and he's taking snacks and he's taking food and he's taking all that, there might be a reason for it. He may not have food at home. He may be in a very tough financial situation. He may... I think first thing is we need to offer some additional support and resources and see if maybe we can help support him. But I think a jump to a write-up for stealing yogurt out of the fridge or... Okay, I get that. And you're spending a lot on snacks and drinks and stuff for the whole... I get it. But if somebody's going in and taking that much food on a regular basis, chances are it's because they need to. Well, innocent until proven guilty, right? And so let's plan to sit down and have a conversation. I'm happy to do it directly myself, and just see if there's something that we can do to help him. Okay. Yeah, but you don't, I know that's, some people hide it well. Some people put on a really good mask. And they hide it well because they're embarrassed or they just don't want people to know. And if he's struggling and there's something that we can do to help him, I think just allowing him access to the food is kind of the least we can do. I spoke with him a couple of days ago. He had some concerns about my availability during my off hours, so after 5 p.m. and then on the weekends. Okay. Well, we did a review of my contract. I let him know I have working hours and non-working hours. And if he wanted to negotiate additional working hours, then that would have to be an additional compensation agreement. Like I would need to be paid for any additional hours outside of the ones outlined in my contract. That mentality is what concerns me, right? Because as a contractor, I don't work for you. I don't work for your company. I work for myself. You contract my services as like a vendor, right? As like, okay. Well, then maybe this contract isn't, a good fit, and we should take a look at terminating early. But just a reminder that if you do take steps to terminate early, then the full fee is still owed. That's part of my contract. Yeah, your attorney did, your CEO did, and it was notarized. So. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm happy to continue the working relationship with the hours that are laid out in the contract. But outside of that, it's very important for me to have some boundaries and to have free time with my family. I'm not comfortable agreeing to work 24/7, especially without specific information on what hours you're wanting. If you want me to work a Saturday every other week or something, we can put that in there. I'm happy to do so. But if your expectation is that I just be on call, that's something very different. Okay. And I understand that. I get it. But I just don't work like that. And if this isn't a right fit, that's okay. Sometimes things just do not work out the way you want them to. Okay, well, why don't you connect with your leaders and, make a decision on what you want to do, and then give me a call and let me know. Yeah, better yet, send an email. Let's get it documented. That way it'll kind of simplify things if you guys decide to go ahead and cancel the contract. Have a great day.
If you see my profile picture flashing red, that means I'm live. And if you join the live and comment LeBron James, my co-hosts are going to be getting up and dancing. Join the live and comment LeBron James.
Understand that you were the proximate cause for the accident, right? So what that means is that you caused the accident. Okay, so you're majority at fault. So just based on what you're reporting and the statement that you provided, you explained that you made a left turn outside of a parking lot in front of my insured. And from there, when you made that left turn, they struck your vehicle. So right, they hit. Right, I understand you're saying that they hit you, but they hit you because you turned out from the right side and made a left-hand turn in front of them, sir. So they had the right of way. Right. So, sir, are you understanding what I'm telling you? You can't just pull out in front of cars and not be held liable. So you're responsible for the accident. So I can't help you regarding your vehicle. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know who's supposed to help you. If you don't have collision on your own policy, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything for you. You are at fault for this accident. We're actually going to be requesting that your insurance reimburse us for the damages to our insured vehicle. Okay, I understand, sir, and I'm sorry that you're missing work, but unfortunately, I cannot assist you with this accident. Again, you are at fault. Right, but again, sir, they hit you because you pulled out from the right side, making a left turn in front of their vehicle when they had the right of way. You had a stop sign. Right, you entered. Well, I'm not sure how else to explain it to you, sir. It doesn't seem like you're comprehending what I'm trying to tell you. You're at fault for this accident. Well, okay, sir. I mean, your insurance may have said they were reviewing liability. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't believe you're at fault. But I'm pretty sure once the police report comes in, it will be finalized. But just based on your statement, you admitted that you pulled out from the plaza. So, yeah, again, you're at fault for this accident, sir. Is there anything else that I can help you with today? Right, but we've already went over that, sir. We don't have to keep going over the same thing, okay? Do you have any additional questions? Anything other than you trying to understand liability? Because I've explained it to you several times. Okay. At this point, sir, you need to contact your insurance. That's who you would need to contact, okay? Please contact your insurance carrier. Maybe they could further explain it to you and assist you. That's correct. Right, okay. Have a good day, sir. Like, what part are you not understanding? Like, what do you not get? It didn't talk about they hit me. Well, I mean, they probably ain't see your happy ass just go. I mean, what my cars? This my insured. You in a plaza. Okay? They driving on the lane and you come blowing through the stop sign from the plaza and you make a left turn and they hit you. Yeah, I mean, maybe they 10% because they hit the rear. Okay, they hit the back driver's side. But still, again, come on. Why would you pull out in front of them? Make it make sense.
Hey, Sister Kitty, let's do a Monday morning recap, shall we? So the first topic I would like to speak on is the JC, Derek, and Snow situation, the transgender of it all. Now, from my understanding, every time I see JC and Derek, they seem to be minding their business, shopping at City Trends, not bothering anybody. So to see how the entire internet is upset that they simply chose to fake a breakup, first of all, I don't believe that the breakup was fake. I genuinely believe they broke up for real, and to save face, they told y'all that it was fake. Nevertheless, y'all fell for it because y'all are way too fucking invested in other people's relationships. I feel like Snow was intentionally trying to be messy because she waited until JC and Derek were being talked about to tell us her experience with Derek, as if anybody gives a fuck. One thing I cannot stand is that he tried to talk to me as bitch, because what are we supposed to do with that information? Snow is 1000% mad that she did not get picked, and to make matters worse, JC ignored her DM when it came to them collaborating. Had JC actually collaborated with that girl, we would have never known that Derek tried to talk to her. She was upset, she was mad, she was pressed, and that is why all of this shit is happening now. Now she's decided to take on the role as the voice of the side bitches. All because you didn't get picked? Also, if you pay attention to the wording that Snow used in the argument, she seems to be very jealous. She kept bringing up the fact that I used to be this TikTok girl, I started this TikTok shit, but what are you now? What are you now? Like you're trying to prove a point that you were somebody before JC was somebody, but at the end of the day, once this is all said and done, Sister Cat, you're at the bottom of the totem pole still. Also, I think that all parties involved do not take their trans identity as serious as they claim to, because if they truly did, the first thing they would not choose to do in an argument is misgender the other party. What everybody involved fails to realize is that by you being a trans person and misgendering another trans person, you're basically saying that it's okay for non-trans people to misgender you as well. Moving on, this DoorDash dick situation, it's so surprising to me to see so many people trying to say that the man is the victim in this situation, as if men just stopped being creepy yesterday, as if white men have not simply been creepy fucking creatures since the beginning of time. The fact that this man was laying on his sofa, dick out with every fucking light on, door wide open, why are we acting like that's not weird? Knowing that you have a DoorDash order coming, why are we acting like that's not weird? As someone that frequently orders DoorDash, bitch, I don't even like to be in eyesight of the Dasher. I don't want the Dasher to see me at any point, bitch. I'll wait till they drive off to go get my food. So sitting with the fucking door wide open, laid out on the sofa with your dick out is weird and intentional. The only thing that I feel like she did wrong was record that man in his house. Personally, that is the only thing that I feel like she did wrong. Other than that, that man absolutely needs to be banned from DoorDash. Because who's to say that she's the first person he's ever done this to? Who's to say he hasn't done this to another woman before, but she just never spoke up about it? Moving on to the next topic. Nicki Minaj would like to, hold on, is there anything else I can speak about? Like, do I have to talk about her? Like, I really don't give a fuck. This is all we got? I suppose. Anywho, Nicki Minaj would like to be addressed as Billionaire Barbie, despite the fact that she doesn't even have billions in the bank, let alone millions. She also said that even though she previously stated that Jay-Z was the reason why she wasn't putting out her album in March, that she is still moving forward with putting out her album in March, that she was never putting out in March. So, yeah. And lastly, the lack of professionalism that these artists have on these tours that people are paying $500+ for is getting a little ridiculous. Like, at no point should I be at a concert that I paid hundreds of dollars for looking fucking confused at what's happening on stage. And the fact that y'all continuously let these supposed legends play in your face, disrespect your money and time, and let them off the hook easy by simply releasing a fucking Instagram press release apology is an issue. Because as for me, bitch, I'm getting a refund and I'm disputing that charge. But anyways, that concludes this Monday morning recap, Sister Cat. If there's any topic that I missed and you would like to hear my opinion on it, drop it below in the comments and I might possibly get to it.
And another thing, actually, because y'all really starting to piss me off for real. Y'all keep saying that this man was in the privacy of his own home. Privacy is when the door is closed. The door was open. He was just in his own home. If I walk past somebody's house and they're doing something that makes me uncomfortable and I can see it, there's no more privacy. And then y'all keep asking why she recorded it. Bro, she recorded it and put it on the internet and y'all are dragging her for filth. If she didn't record it and she didn't show y'all and she reported it, y'all would be having this lady stoned. She recorded it to show y'all evidence and y'all still tampered with the evidence and ran with your own narratives and made up a story. And then people saying, oh, if it was a woman, this would be a different story. Honestly, it wasn't a woman. It wasn't. It was a man. And also, if it was a woman, I don't think that we would be having the same conversation. Because based on the way that the men are outraged right now and trying to make this lady seem like a bad person, I already know that if it was a woman laying there, they would have gone inside the home and done something inappropriate. Because men have done it forever, since men have existed. And then everybody talking about, oh, he might have been drunk and passed out, all these hypotheticals. And even if he was lit when he did it, it's weird. It's uncomfortable. It is still not what she wanted to see. She had to see it against her will. Are y'all okay? Actually, don't answer that. Because y'all want to normalize what happened to this young lady. Sick.
It's Friday and it's late afternoon. There's no possible way we're going to get someone out to look at your car today. So you're going to have to wait until Monday. I'm not trying to be argumentative and I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm being realistic, sir. It is 3:30 on a Friday afternoon and business closed at 5. And it takes time for us to send an assignment somewhere, someone get assigned, and then someone's scheduled to come out. Well, sir, if it was that easy, we would do it for all claims. But that is just not realistic. That's not possible. I am the adjuster, sir. I'm not required to come out and view your car, though. Well, sir, I work multiple states, so it would be impossible for me to work multiple states and be in the field. What you're referring to is a field adjuster. I'm a desk adjuster. I'm still the one who makes the liability decision and go over all your coverage. And no, sir, there are adjusters who do not have to come out and look at your car. Like I stated, if you have a body shop that is open on the weekends, you can take it to get an estimate and then I can review it on Monday. But it is impossible for me to have someone sent out to you today. Again, sir, I'm not trying to be argumentative. Who told you that? No, sir, I'm not required to work a weekend if I get a late claim. I'm not even sure how that would work because accidents happen all the time. Okay, well, sir, I don't want to continue to go back and forth because that will make the conversation argumentative. You have the options. So again, if you find a body shop, I'll be more than happy to look at it on Monday. If not, I will send somebody out to you Monday and I'll follow up with you at that time. If you have any questions, you can shoot me over an email and I will be back in the office Monday morning at 9 a.m. Okay? I hope you have a great one. I understand, sir. You too. Bye-bye. It's your claims adjuster, favorite claims adjuster. How you doing? So on this one, the guy was just in an accident. He reported the claim. He called me within 10 minutes of reporting the claim. He wants me to come out and look at his car. I'm not required to come out and look at his car, nor do I live in his area. He's in Florida. He doesn't understand why, because adjusters have to come out. No, we don't. There are plenty of adjusters who do not go into the field, and we'll get an appraiser to come out, who is also technically an adjuster, but all they're doing is appraising. But we'll hire somebody to come out if necessary. His area, I might have to send someone. It just kind of depends, because he plans on driving the car because it's drivable, but he just wants to get the ball rolling. He was very argumentative, said I was being argumentative and combative. I wasn't trying to work with them. And for whatever reason, he believed that if I got a late claim, then I needed to work Saturday to work that claim that I got on Friday. But that wouldn't logically make sense, because I'm going to get a claim on Saturday and I'm going to also work that same claim from Friday evening if it's too late, Saturday and Sunday, all on Monday. All of that happens on Monday. So I'm not really sure what he's implying here, but you know, let it be what it's going to be. Birthday wish list is linked in the bio in case y'all want to bless your girl. Any questions, comments, or concerns, y'all can put them in the comments. Bye, Pookie Butt.
I'm going down the Dakota and Felicity rabbit hole, and I have a few questions. Do they not have their own social media profiles? Because so far I haven't found any. And what does Corkle, whatever the guy's name is, what does he do with all the money that he makes off of their video? Because not only does he have a Facebook account, he has 2 TikTok accounts where the content on all 3 of these platforms is solely Dakota and Felicity. And I was shocked to see the views that he's bringing in on this. Almost 99% of all of the videos he posts crack 1 million views, if not more. For example, 4.7 million, 10.6, 7.2, 9.2, 4.3, 5.6, 2.3, 10.7, 3 million. I'm new to this story. I'm trying to figure everything out. So to my understanding, Corkle met Dakota while riding his bike one day, which is what majority of his content used to be. It's him dressing up in costumes riding his motorcycle. But he found Dakota homeless in October of 2024, I think, from what I've found. Became friends with him, and then from there is trying to help him. He got him an apartment, got his SSI fixed, takes him to doctor's appointments, all the things, which is amazing. And both Dakota and Felicity obviously have some disability. And it seems that the apartment Dakota got was maybe a low-income housing situation. I don't know. I've tried to find videos that go over specific details of that, but it seems like majority of the videos are kind of like silly, skittish type videos. And then there's a few that go over things and explain them, but Felicity got kicked out and banned from the apartment that Dakota is living in for whatever reason, so she can no longer go on that property, and she was also set up to move there herself, but no longer can because she was banned, because she was sleeping there and outstaying her welcome, apparently. I'd just like to know what is being done with all of the money that is being generated from 2 TikTok accounts and a Facebook account.